Welcome back to the PFPod, the podcast where we break down the action, strategy, and excitement for robotics competitions like FIRST and beyond. From last-minute pit fixes to championship-winning plays, we're here to talk about what makes robotics more than just a competition. Whether you're a builder, coder, or just love the energy of a great event, we've got stories, insights, and maybe a few battle scars to share. So let's gear up, dive in, and talk about the world of competitive robotics. Welcome back to Season 3 of the PF Pod. I'm Max, this year's PF President, and as you can see, today's episode looks a little different. I have no friends with me. Today's my last episode because in a couple weeks, I'll be graduating from Purdue, which is rather bittersweet. I'm excited for my next chapter and that kind of future journey, which we'll talk about a bit more here today. But it's also, I had a really great time over the last 4 years, and kind of saying goodbye to all those peoples and memories is going to be a bit challenging. So we talked a bit about the club in general and FIRST over the last few episodes, but today's going to be a little bit more personal, talk about some stories and advice, kind of what my future looks like, just as for all those who are curious. But before we talk about that future, let's talk a little bit about how I actually ended up here at Purdue. As you know, I'm graduating in mechanical engineering, which was kind of an interesting decision. We'll kind of talk a bit here. I came to Purdue from Northern Virginia, largely due to its great engineering program, but also due to a variety of other reasons. I was considering a lot of different top engineering schools and visited a number of them, and it just so happened to be a beautiful weather day in West Lafayette when I came. Walked through all the bricks. It was just really pretty, and I really enjoyed the campus. Ended up going to Mackey and seeing a basketball game, which was another big important thing for me to have good sports at the school, and kind of all that coupled with the excellent value from the relatively low tuition costs made it just an appealing option. So I committed to going to Purdue. I signed my little housing notice and was excited to kind of come here in the fall. I was definitely a little bit hesitant that first kind of few weeks before moving to campus, just the unknown of college and what that would entail. I didn't really know my roommates. I was living in a 6-person dorm. What would that be like? Will I like them? How will I adjust? I've never lived on my own before. There's just a lot of thoughts going through my mind. And I was definitely really stressed, like the whole car ride here from Virginia. Luckily, I had 10 hours to think about all the things that could go wrong. But anyways, we get here, get settled into my dorm, start meeting some people. BGR week was great. Really recommend doing that. Kind of started meeting a lot of different people, building my community. And we'll kind of revisit that community throughout today's episode of how important it is to have that people to rely on, connections, stuff like that. But so once I kind of started getting there, it really kind of took a lot of those nerves away. That was my biggest fear. Academically, I knew it was going to be a transition, but I felt like I was capable of handling any of that. But that social aspect of how am I going to find friends and make that life for myself was definitely very daunting. And once that kind of fell away, and I actually really was able to enjoy college. And the biggest way I recommend making those friends, especially early on, is kind of sitting in that lobby and lounge of your dorm, going to all those welcome week events, kind of getting out of your comfort zone as much as possible. It's really easy just to stay burrowed in your room, but you're not going to meet many people if you're just sitting in your bed all day. So really recommend kind of getting out of your comfort zone, taking that step those first few weeks to kind of build that community up. And over the next few years, I was in FYE that first year, pretty much set on mechanical, and kind of made that call throughout the year after it kind of just reaffirmed what I wanted to do. It's broad enough where I can go into many different fields while still having the option to kind of pursue more subsetting areas, and allowed me to kind of give me that flexibility to figure out exactly what I wanted to do. And that was a great decision. I would recommend mechanical engineering to anyone. And all the faculty and classes are great. I really enjoyed a number of different ones. The current manufacturing class I'm in right now is really entertaining. I really enjoyed all the statics, structures, fluids kind of classes. But yeah, it was a great time in mechanical engineering. I feel like every single time people ask me, like, oh, what's your least favorite class? And then I'm like, it's hard for me to tell because I really like the content we're actually learning, which worked out well for me. But beyond school itself, let's talk a little bit more about PFP and kind of how I got involved there. I did know about PFP before coming to Purdue, which is rather rare for a lot of the out-of-state students. But in a lot of my college applications, I had this kind of copy-paste style essay where I talk about some of the things I did in my first year in high school and how I would carry it forward and insert club here at university. And luckily, Purdue FIRST Programs kind of fit that mold for there. So I did hear a little bit about it, but wasn't too familiar with exactly what we did. Ended up seeing us at the club fair that first week and kind of go to the call out, and ended up signing up for the class, which was had at the time. So I was in a class there that first semester, kind of got to know a lot of the PF people, realized kind of what the volunteering side of things entail. Went to my first B3 and kind of just got hooked on from over there. Been involved with events for a while, ended up being the events director last year, responsible for planning all of our major events, B3, forums, etc. That was a really great opportunity to kind of get more involved in leadership and really kind of expand my horizons in terms of communication and project management and planning and stuff. And a lot of those skills definitely directly contributed to work and being able to get internships and that kind of side of things, which we'll also dive more into in a little bit here. But kind of being able to be involved with that community of people that had a similar background to me from their first experience in high school was another really great way to build my community and kind of get to know people and have that kind of people to rely on. Because when you're at home in high school and with that, whatever, you have your family, you have other people to kind of be your backbone. But out in college, it's just you and your friends and whoever else you know. So making sure you have that support system is really important to sustain yourself throughout the times. So kind of been more involved with PFP as an events director. So after my time as events director, I ended up transitioning to become PFP's president, which was a very exciting opportunity. And it ended up being a little bit less of a workload actually, which was great. It was much more kind of managing the external relations of our organization and being that kind of face. So talking with lots of different schools at Purdue and different people and really trying to expand our presence, which is something I was really proud of being able to achieve and hopefully kind of transition that into next year with Bruna and the rest of the great exec board and officer team. So kind of all the experience with PFP definitely was very helpful and valuable for getting careers, getting internships and stuff. So beyond my leadership roles in PFP, I've done a number of volunteering things in the community and stuff like that. I've really enjoyed judging at all 3 levels this past year, seeing all the different robots, kind of keeping myself young with all the robot games and all the terminologies that they use and stuff like that. I think my favorite game that I've been involved with, I know we've asked that at our senior panel the other day, is definitely has to be Deep Space. And I know that's a very common answer for people in my age range. It did happen to be my freshman year of FRC, but I just really think it was a really cool game with the different game pieces and the climbing and the sandstorm and just kind of it was a phenomenal introduction to FIRST, and I don't think we've quite hit that peak again since. And as we talk about kind of volunteering, I really have been enjoying judging. It's really cool to kind of see all the students' hard work and kind of get refamiliarized with all the projects, especially now that I don't have time to mentor anymore with my more significant PFP involvement. I'm able to kind of see what the robots are up to, kind of that vibe of thing, and also especially at the younger levels, seeing just the passion and budding passion for STEM and enthusiasm really kind of shine through, which was great. Other great experiences I had at Purdue beyond BFP, I've loved going to sporting events. I've been to just about every football and basketball game over the last few years. Probably my favorite sporting event ever, I see that was a question here. In person, my favorite game was the IU game my sophomore year. That's when Zach Edey's senior season, and he hit that 3, and that was the loudest I've ever heard Mackey. I really also enjoy going to the baseball games. Those are always a good time. Volleyball is also super fun. Definitely recommend going to as many of those events as you can. They're very affordable, and it's just a great way to kind of stay involved with that community again. So building that community even more and more. Been involved in a few other orgs. Recommend joining some fun ones like Outing Club or other outdoorsy personal project, passion, just like completely fun, no relation run club. Way to kind of get involved with people. Enjoy joining something kind of similar to your major, some sort of ASME, honor society vibe situation, and then also something kind of being able to give back to the community, which is a great where kind of PFP falls in for me, kind of having that service element, being able to give back something really rewarding as well. So definitely recommend finding a few different clubs to kind of fill the different needs, but also making sure you have a priority not to overextend yourself, because there's a lot of different balloons to juggle in college, and this is something that I learned early on. I remember in my freshman year honors engineering class, they had this little session where they made us fill up a bunch of balloons, and we would write things on them like hygiene and sleep and gym and eating and school and all these things, and we would throw them up, and we would not be able to catch them all. And that was a really good kind of lesson and perspective on the reality that is there's not enough time in the day to do every single thing you'd want to do. So it's really important you make those prioritizations and figure out what you want to do with your time. And obviously some things you should prioritize in terms of doing well academically, getting enough sleep, taking care of your body, whether eating well, going to the gym, stuff like that. So those are non-negotiables for me. I always get my 8 hours of sleep. I always make sure I hit the gym in the morning or at the afternoon if I can't go in the morning. Make sure I'm meal prepping, eating healthy. Make sure I'm doing all my homework, staying up on my classes, studying for exams. So those kind of things are really critical, and I make sure those are the priority of my days. And then with the additional time, I also want to make sure I'm being able to be involved in my clubs. I made a commitment to leadership roles. I have to kind of own up to that and make sure I'm doing what I need to do there. And also, I need to make sure I prioritize some time to have fun. Um, College is a great experience. There's a lot of ways to really enjoy yourself. So make sure you're actually dedicating time to hang out with your friends and doing fun things and doing things, because that's still valuable. And I may feel like, oh, I need to do this, I need to do that. That's more important. But it's also important to enjoy yourself. Obviously, don't sacrifice academics and other things that are more of a priority, but make sure you manage your time in a way that you have that time at the end of the week to enjoy yourself and kind of let loose. Because otherwise, you're never going to you're just going to be so stressed, so easily burned out. And that's happened to me before. I've gone into some of those tough semesters where it's just the grind don't stop. Every weekend you're working on homework, you're doing stuff in the lab, you're working on all sorts of different things. And it's tough and it's hard, and those are kind of ways to kind of get into that kind of burnout land and just really be down in the dumps. And it's the easiest way to kind of avoid that and avoid those stressors is to make sure while you still have all that work and stuff to do is you make sure you take time to enjoy yourself as well. And we'll have a lot more advice about my time at college here towards the end of this episode. But beyond college, I'm super excited to say that I'm starting my career with Whirlpool in their manufacturing leadership development program. So a little rotational program through a few different plants, kind of do manufacturing, engineering, process improvement type stuff, which I'm really excited to do. I was there last summer down in Cleveland, Tennessee, and excited to kind of get into that more full time. So excited to have that after college, but also kind of bittersweet to leave all these wonderful memories and things I've made over the past few years. Some other advice I have is really just, I know we talked a lot about time management and finding your community, but also just savor every last moment. I feel like one of my biggest regrets, and I think it's silly to regret things, there's only moving forward, there's no moving back, so there's no point kind of rehashing and just feeling down about things you didn't do. But I think it is impactful to make sure that other people don't necessarily make the same mistakes, and moving forward, you also are able to kind of avoid those things. And I feel like I didn't do a good job of savoring like the little things early on. I feel like freshman, sophomore, even junior year, even beginning of senior year, I was just like, oh, we have so much time, we have so much time, we have so much time. And yeah, 4 years is a while, but it goes by quick. So I really should have just taken it all in and been like, wow, this is awesome. Every single weekend, every single fun thing, instead of just being, oh, we have a million more of those. Because very soon, there's not a million more of those. I think I graduate in 3 weeks from yesterday, like walk across the stage, done, finito. And it's like, wow, I'm like, 20 days out? So those kind of little moments, while it seems so far till you actually have to hit the end, the road comes way quicker than you would imagine. So make sure you're really taking it all in, taking those pictures, saying yes to those things even when you're tired or whatever. It's easy to say no, but try to avoid it as much as possible, because you'll end up wishing you did those things more than you were happy you had that extra sleep or the extra whatever. Other advice I have for school is kind of making sure you're clever with your use of credits. Oftentimes there's easy ways to kind of double up on things and make things work. For instance, I came in with my micro and macro credit from high school, so I was able to get my econ minor with no additional classes. They all counted as tech electives or upper level electives or things that I needed for my mechanical engineering degree, but also counted for my econ minor. So I was able to kind of get the best of both worlds without having that additional course load. And I guess that's really the most of my advice, is really just to make sure you're managing your time well, building that community, and just enjoying every last moment, because it will go by quickly. And yeah, I mean, now it's kind of my next few weeks are just like saying goodbye and having those lots of lasts. I feel like the last few weeks have been filled with lots of lasts, which is hard. It's like my last exec meeting, my last true general meeting with PFP, my last basketball game, my last football game, my last this, my last that. And it's like kind of just really crazy to think that there's all these lasts are kind of bundling up, and eventually I'm going to have to say goodbye to all my lovely friends and colleagues and professors, and like just like walking to class and all these things in campus. And it's just, the next few weeks are definitely going to be filled with lots of goodbyes, which are going to be hard, but I'm excited for what's next, and I'll still be around. If you ever have any questions, feel free to comment down below. They can get a hold of me, and I really appreciate all my time with PFP and all of your guys' support. So thanks for everything, PFP and Purdue. PFParting is such sweet sorrow, and for the last time, peace out.